Banana slam jam.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How about you, man?
All good, all good.
Okay. So, if you don't mind, let's just go ahead and get the show on the road. It's a bit late, but this is the time that we agreed to, so I'm ready to fucking roll. Are you? You said you have some replays for me that are
Sure,
recent.
sure.
Sweet. Okay. So introduce yourself. You said you're 3K MMR.
Yeah, 3K. Just lately, I don't know, I've been playing more and getting worse. I don't know, too much in the head or overthinking everything. I feel kind of lost when I'm playing.
Okay.
I play position one. Favorite hero is TB. Laning wise, I've actually sent you a demo before, which you reviewed, and even though you've already told me, I'm just still struggling. So I'm kind of hoping maybe, fuck it, do a lesson, get some more in depth,
Yeah.
how
Well,
to
it's not usually
improve.
my intent to not help you the first time around to make you spend more. That's not the plan.
No,
But
no, actually,
go ahead.
it helped a lot, but it's just like some really good pointers, but I just need more help, I think.
Okay.
I'm like a lost cause.
Fair enough. No,
So,
don't sell yourself short, bud. At least you're here trying to get better.
sure.
Let's go ahead and get into it then. Go ahead and send me the replay ID on Discord, and we'll load it up.
Yeah.
Oops, I
So
turned on my
one of my
camera.
issues with TV is yeah, laning stage. Usually have a not so good laning stage, to be honest. So I need some help on the laning stage, but I just can't finish games or I can't win games. Like I'm not playing terrible, doing all right, but I just can't win them. I've seen like all your videos and YouTube videos and how to play the map, but I don't know. I'm running around feeling kind of lost, and I really struggle with which fights to join. Like, when should I join a fight? And your tip on farm towards the fight if you want to join, farm away from it if you want to split. If you can't, you need an item or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, sweet. Sounds like a lot of just standard decision making you're struggling with on carry. So I'll do my best to guide you in
yeah,
the right direction here.
yeah,
Okay. So I guess the best thing I can say is that I'm just gonna focus on telling you to ask yourself the right questions, because at the end of the day,
yeah,
every game's gonna be a bit different. I know you said you watched my videos, so you know my general approach.
yeah.
Seems like you believe in it, so let's do our best to talk about it. So this game, going into the laning stage, it looks like you're against probably an off lane Undying, maybe
Yeah.
an off lane Lion, but it looks like four Lion, three Undying. With that in mind, I don't know if you've looked at your hero, but your hero
Well,
has 500 health.
it
So,
wasn't fun.
yeah, when you are against Dirge, anything you can think of here?
Say again.
Like, you're against Undying in lane. Is there anything you want to talk about?
Well, he's obviously gonna just r- remove all my strength, but he's also spamming his spell, so I do get a stick early on.
So, you said he's going to
Uh,
remove your strength and he's going to spam spells. So,
yeah,
why do your starting items tell me the complete opposite of that?
yeah. Uh, Pretty just the standard every game. Sometimes I go bracer instead of the agility slippers.
Let's
Uh,
not buy into this, right? I know I talk about itemization can be later, but if
yeah,
you specialize in a hero, itemization can be any bracket. Like, the reason why I tell people
yeah,
not
yeah.
necessarily to worry about itemization at 3 4K all that much is because a lot of times I'm talking about learning a new hero or whatever. In this case, you spam Terrorblade, man. You gotta adjust your items to who you're against. You said he steals your strength and he spams spells. There should be a stick and like 4 strength in your starting items. Like, in that
Right,
case, you should have like a circlet and 2 branches. If you have a stick, circlet, 2 branches, and you don't have money for a quelling blade, so fucking be it. You don't have a quelling blade. Like, you
yeah,
need these other items to lane. Like, it
yeah,
doesn't matter if you have more damage to hit creeps if you can't actually walk up to hit the creeps. So That's a big deal for me here. You know this stuff. I fully believe you do. If being at the 3K MMR bracket, especially if you've played Terrorblade a lot, which obviously you're gold on Dota Plus. Every hero has potential weaknesses. Like, they're always the same every game. And one of Terrorblade's weaknesses is, in lane, he has 500 base health. Like, that is terrible. If you compare that to, like, an Ogre with, 620 or whatever, and even Zeus has more than you. The point is that if that's punishable, right, we have to alleviate it with our items. That's the only thing we can change, right? Like, that's the only thing. So I know I'm harping on it pretty hard, but you cannot dismiss how important these items are. You are setting yourself up for failure in lane. You told me your laning stage is bad on Terrorblade. Let's start with your starting items. This is, to be quite frank, atrocious. Like, it is really bad.
I really struggle with taking decisions on what items. I go back and forth asking all these questions as you've been talking about.
Okay.
What do I need? What's my role? What my goal? What I need? How do I itemize? And do I need a fucking Manta or do I need a Sanguinasha? And I'm like, I just can't fucking seem to actually take the decision. So I just, okay, this seems like I think I'm asking the questions, but I'm just not sure I can honestly answer them.
Yeah, so that's fine, man.
Yeah.
I want to be. I'm not trying to be condescending, but I also want to be harsh in a sense that's trying to be helpful.
Of course.
So, like, my question is, you're telling me this. Are you not thinking about who you're laning against? Are you not aware of the problems Terrorblade faces? Like, what's going on here? I need to know. Like, you're telling me you don't know the answers. You can't possibly tell me you don't know you need strength items and a stick against Undying. Or do you actually not know that? Like, I'm not trying to be mean. Or do you not know that?
Right.
Have you not laning against Undying?
I know, but I'm like, I'll get through the first phase with these, and then I'll get to that point where I'm getting the stick and I'm getting.
But you're laning against the guy level 1.
Yeah, exactly. No,
that's what starting items are, right? It's like, who are you interacting with level 1? That's the thing. Like, later once you've gotten past that, like, the thing I look at this, and people ask me, BSJ, why did you skip Quelling Blade? Usually my answer is, I have other fucking concerns. Like, if I don't have a ring of protection, I just get harassed out of lane. If I don't have an Orb of Venom, I can't threaten them, which means they kill me. Like, if I don't have strength items here, I'm going to be so low health I can't walk up to the creep wave anyway. These are things where hitting the creeps is a luxury, where you have the Quelling Blade because you know you're going to be able to hit creeps. Obviously, as a carry, a lot of lanes you have the luxury to hit creeps, but against Undying, whose like entire premise is to like shut you down in lane. Otherwise, the hero sucks. Like, the hero sucks if he's not shutting you down in lane. You're an agi hero, so he's not shutting down your damage. He doesn't really have that much damage, right? Like, he has damage because he stole 8 decay, but before that, he had 63 damage. So if you just have, 4 stat items, which is you're going to have the same damage, you're going to have 57 damage, and then you meta, you have 77. And guess what? You have 11 armor, and he has 3. So he tries to hit you, you hit him. But you need items to actually hit him, right? So you're not hitting creeps, you're hitting him. So that's something you really need to think about. And it sounds like you like the idea of asking yourself a lot of questions, but it almost seems like you're thinking too hard. I know that sounds...
I'm just not believing in the answers I'm coming up with. Like, I'm not sure if that's the right one or that one is the right one or I have like 4 different answers and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm not. Maybe this is
interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like you're kind of psyching yourself out.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, this is how you fix your items, right? Let's ignore. Okay, so here's the mindset you have to take. I've only talked about this a few times, but it's something that I've tried to reverberate whenever I can, and that's, you need to question yourself after the game, but during the game, you just have to be confident in whatever you're choosing to do. Like, you have to act like your idea of what you're supposed to do in this game is like law.
I figured it out, and I just gotta go with that.
Going into this game, like, during the game, you're not gonna learn anything until it's too late. What I mean,
like my goal.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you're not gonna learn anything about it until it's too late. Like, you now have you not in this moment at 1 minute and 7 seconds in learned that your starting items are bad.
Yeah.
You learned
What am
that,
I
right?
doing with a calling? Yeah. Of
Yeah, and
course.
so it's like when people ask, why no quelling blade? What did you just do for the first creep wave?
Yeah.
What were you doing? Were you hitting creeps?
These guys. Yeah.
You were
Exactly.
hitting the heroes. You were trading. They were using spells, right? So next time around, you're like, holy shit, I wasn't hitting creeps at all, and I died, and I just had no health, and I look at my items. I just look at the things I can change. Sometimes it's skill build in lane, but majority of the time it's just items, right? It's just items. So we naturally fall into the right things that we're doing. Sometimes, yeah, like you might have misplayed, you shouldn't have used meta or something. But in this case, like you use meta, you're supposed to fight back because that's what you're doing. That's what your hero does. And
You almost had the kill, and
yeah, and just imagine if you have a stick and 4 extra strength here, right? And then you have a fairy fire that you already had, but you didn't use, obviously. But like, imagine you just have an extra 80 health from your items. You have an extra 70 or 80 health from your stick charges, and then you have that fairy fire you pop, and they die. And it's like the lane is unrecognizably different, right? And suddenly this lane is super fucking hard because obviously outside of meta, your hero's really weak. So being behind after using meta is like this is lane fucking over, dude. Like this is lane over. So we're going to play this lane now in a way of we have lost it. Let's see what happens. So your ogre needs to pull, and he's not gonna pull. He needed to pull earlier. It looks like he's gonna maybe stack. Okay. Okay. Your ogre's not in your party, I see.
No.
I highly encourage you, if you're going to play party queue, you lane with your party member, because this kind of stuff needs work. And I'm asking
we're all role queuing, so.
Gotcha.
Right.
It looks like you're literally queuing all 3 core roles, is what I see, or maybe a 4 positions.
That's what we got this.
Oh, you're all just spamming all roles? Is that what you're saying?
Some we rotate, so some guy has to. So we.
You're covering all the roles.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sometimes we do end up on lane together. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So my question for you as a carry when it comes to communicating to your ogre is, do you want to fight them?
With an ogre, I do, but like having him in front.
Do you want to fight them right now?
No, obviously not.
So
I don't have meta.
If it's 2v2, is that good for you?
No.
What do you want? So what do you want this ogre to do?
Well, fuck with the other guy or pull at least.
Yeah, he needs to pull because your hero's weak. Like, you don't want people in lane against you. Like, because if he's pulling, that means somebody on the opponent team either has to contest the pull, or the lane's going to go into your tower, or you're just going to deny the entire wave, whatever. But the point is, the ogre being in your lane right now is bad, and you need to think to yourself what you want the support to do, because that's important. That's relevant to your hero. Like, do I want a 2v2? Am I strong? Do I want to fight them? Am I playing passively? Like, what is the state of the lane, right? You have no meta, and you died. So it's like, okay, let's take a fucking chill pill. This is the moment where I tell ogre, hey, man, go pull. Sometimes in your bracket, people don't want to pull because maybe they'll think you'll die or something. So it can help because it requires you to think about what your hero wants. And
if you tell him what to do, he'll be like, fuck you, I mute you.
Hey, man, if you just say, please pull, and the guy says, fuck you, you mute him and never say a word to him again. But if you don't try, I don't know what else to say.
Right.
Like, that's the best approach you can do. I think you should try. It's not like I'm saying you're wrong. I'm just going to be honest and say I'm so tired of coaching students telling me that, because it's not because you're wrong. It's because,
but I always let's try
to be a better community, and you have to be the better guy. I want to encourage it, and I'm not trying to I'm trying to tell you you're not wrong, but you really just need to do your best. Like I told you, to be confident in what you do. You need to be confident in what you're communicating to your supports that you think you need. And obviously don't do it in some whiny bitchy way. Like, don't do it in, you're like, please just pull. Obviously when I'm super tilted on stream, I'll do it for, that reason.
I often do try and say, can you please pull, or can you pull sometimes
And
they
the
do,
best man
sometimes
you
they
can
don't.
do is if they say fuck you or, some response that's ridiculous, then just mute them immediately and act like they don't exist anymore. But
Not saying they all say that. I'm just saying that might happen, and yeah, maybe sometimes you
yeah,
just say,
but
"Fuck
that's
it,
worst
I'll
case
not
scenario.
communicate."
But like the point
Right?
is, if you say that to the guy and you leave him unmuted, it's just bad, right? Like you should.
Yeah.
The minute he's proven he's not worth talking to, you just don't talk to him anymore, right? And that includes hearing anything from him because it usually goes both ways. If they're not good at listening, they're not going to be constructive when talking to you. I've
Some,
realized it very quickly recently that like if there's players I can't stand communicating with or the way they communicate to me, I just have to mute them. Like I
much
can't
better.
play
Yeah.
Dota. Like I literally can't play Dota. I feel like you're psyching yourself out, and I feel like there's a lot of things that aren't actually play related that are
Yeah.
fucking you up. Like that makes sense. You looked at my videos, you had a replay analysis, you're telling me all these things you're thinking about. Like I asked you to tell this guy what you need as a hero, and instead of like thinking about what you need as a hero, you're concerned about his response. Your focus is like just in the wrong place.
Right.
Like
Right.
confidence in what you need and what you need to be doing in this game. And like
Yeah.
I say that now because anything you say to me that sounds like remotely an excuse to not do that, I have to just shut it down. Like I have to just be like, no, like you can't convince yourself otherwise. It's hard. It's not an easy skill to develop. I consistently have to remind myself to do the right things that are necessary for me to be in the right like mental place as a player.
Right.
And honestly, the initial impression I'm getting on you is that it is a mental problem. Like you are in the wrong mentality when you're in these games. And like when you're in your starting items, think very critically. Like, what exactly is this lane going to look like? Make your assertion. Be confident in it. And if it doesn't look exactly like that, ask yourself after the game. Don't talk about it during the game. Like, say you die in lane, right? I don't want you to die and say, God, what could I have done better there? Fuck this lane. I want you to think, what is the situation now? Do I want to fight them? Am I strong? Like when I come back to life, am I farming passively? When am I going to jungle? What's next for me? We don't have any
Going-
hindsight. Go ahead.
You mean going forward, like
Yeah,
after
what is
that
next?
happens? Yeah. Yeah.
How has this affected me? We don't give a shit that we fucked up. Like, it's a hard mentality, but it's the best mentality. It 100% is. Like, you just reflecting.
I'm a super emotional gamer. Like, yeah. it gets
Trust
to
me, man.
if
I am
fuck up.
too. My girlfriend is not very emotional when she's gaming, and there's times where I'm like telling her I'm psyching myself out, and she's like, "Just don't." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like she's like, "I never get
Yeah.
upset during a Dota game," and I'm like, "Well, fuck. Like, what am I supposed to say to that?" So what I'm saying is I can relate to you, right? But I'm telling you that these are the steps that I've had to take as a gamer, Dota especially, a super frustrating game that, I've obviously spent 4 to 5 times as long as most of the people watching my stream playing Dota and having to learn these lessons for myself, especially since it's like my livelihood and I have to be in a good place, mentally. Otherwise, like I'm fucked. But I think it's important for everyone that's playing Dota. Mental health in this game is, I think, in life in general. And the reason why I talk about this, like some of my
All
viewers
sports.
some of my viewers are like, Kick W playing Dota to real life lessons or whatever. But if you train this mentality in Dota, it affects you in real life. It really does. Like it makes your you're practicing the way of thinking. It's not practicing a Dota thing. You're practicing your own way of processing conflict and processing, adversity. Like that's what you're doing. So now it's like, okay, like in real life, honestly, every time something shitty happens to us, the ideal approach would be, okay, how has this negatively affected my life and what can I do to get my life back on track? Like it really is the same thing. Obviously in life it's very difficult to do that, especially when the emotions are high in any given scenario. And in Dota, emotions can run high. But the minute that you feel like your emotions are controlling your game, you have to stop playing. You have to tell yourself this isn't okay. Come back tomorrow, come back 2 days from now, however long it takes for me to feel like my emotions will not affect my next game. And otherwise, you're going to like keep falling into the same trap. I've occasionally fallen back into that trap. And for whatever reason, like I just find myself doing it again because I'm like you. I naturally am emotional about games, and I have to just say however long I need to take. Is it the day? Is it like a 40-minute breather on stream where I'm just watching something else? Like, what is it for me? And for you, that is a priority because if you're trying to play when you're in a super bad state of mind, it's only going to make it worse, and
I
you'll
mean,
just
you're
be miserable.
saying what every coach I've had in football, golf has told me my whole life, so it's just funny.
Yeah, it's the same shit. Like I
It's
was
just,
obviously an
yeah,
athlete too, right? So
right.
it's like I guess
Yeah,
a lot of
it's
my
a huge
lessons
part of
are
it. Yeah,
yeah. My confidence
right.
was always one of my biggest issues in basketball when I played. Like just being like nervous energy was always one of my worst things. Okay, so now
Yeah, yeah,
we're back to the lane, back to the game of Dota.
right. Some life lessons
After our life lessons
comes a good
talk,
way.
we
Comes a good way.
yeah. So okay, so we used meta, bullied them out a bit, pulling the lane back, good stuff. All that seems pretty good. Okay. Okay, all this stuff seems pretty reasonable right now. You're playing passively. Your ogre stacked.
Hey, he played actually a good game. I mean, he was a good support. I wasn't really saying he was necessarily negative, but yeah, my mindset is I just have a negative thinking of that what might happen, just like you said.
Yeah, and
So
what I'm
that's
telling you
not
is you
bad.
need to assume everything you're going to do, including communication, is going to work
Yeah,
exactly how you envisioned it
right,
happening, and
right,
if it
right.
doesn't, react later, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like if it's
yeah,
communication-wise, assume the
yeah,
guy's going to listen to you, and if he doesn't, you just mute him, right?
right.
Um,
Oh, it's a good tip, good tip.
it
I'll
really
do.
is. Like
Yeah,
it's hard. It's easier said than done. So like I can completely relate. Practice it.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
important. That also comes to in-game decision making. Okay. Okay, he just
This
dove.
guy just doesn't die. He just doesn't die, this guy.
I see that. That guy died
This
though.
guy does.
Okay, lane seems to go okay despite what happened level
Yeah,
one.
the lane was, this was, I remember it wasn't that bad. Like the laning stage now was okay. I kind of got farmed, but I don't know how to like accelerate it well enough. Like I feel
Something
I'm
I wouldn't mind you
lower.
trying, by the way, is right at this moment I see a lot of carries that or Terrorblades I've gone against. Instead of going treads first, they just go drums. I know drums
Okay.
got nerfed a bit, but
Yeah,
the two all stats is kind of whatever in terms of what the item offers.
yeah, yeah.
It's just mana regen, move speed,
And movement speed, yeah.
and then obviously when you pop meta again, if they're contesting you in lane, like I played against a Terrorblade and he was beating me, and he had like a 6 minute or 7 minute drums or some shit, and he just
Okay.
killed me again because I didn't expect him to have drums, and then he just like drummed on top of me and killed me. It's just something to
Yeah.
think about here because like I'm looking at your like mana situation and what you're going to be doing in lane, and treads are nice,
Yeah.
like you absolutely want them, but it's worth considering drums in a lane like this where you're going to be battling. Like I'd say
Yeah.
treads are I'm going
Okay.
to go jungle and dodge them. Drums is
Okay.
like I'm fighting these fuckers. Like that's
All
kind
right.
of
All
that's
right.
kind of up to you.
Okay. No, I don't usually go drums, even though I do know that it's a great item and whatnot. But
Something to consider then. It just
yeah,
makes
yeah,
your
yeah.
participation early better.
Yeah.
So I guess the way I look at this game is that how do I word this? I was thinking about this earlier, and it's kind of funny that it happened. When it comes to contesting lane or not, a lot of it does have to do with considering rotations. So I guess I would ask you, who's more likely to rotate, your mag or their storm?
Yeah, of course.
Who is?
Storm.
Yeah,
Storm,
Storm, right?
yeah.
So in that case, like, I ask myself these questions. I'll be like, okay, at this stage
Yeah.
in the game, I told you, like, drums means I'm going to contest them in lane, treads means I'm more so jungling, right?
Yep.
So at this stage in the game, what do I want to do? And obviously, you have to include the people in your lane, but you also have to include now other people in the game, right? Like, the mids, the opponent carry, all that kind of stuff. And
Kills
so
you. Who do you want to play against and away
exactly,
someone? Yeah.
exactly, right? So here, I would ask myself who's likely to rotate, and it definitely is the Storm. And in that case, I wouldn't say your mistake is dying here. Your mistake is being here, right?
Right, at all.
Yeah, like you just shouldn't be here because the benefit to you is very minimal. And as a
Right.
carry, the only concern you have when you lose your lane or you want to leave your lane is what?
Jungle.
Well, what's your concern though? You're gonna go
Dirt.
jungle, but what are you
Yeah.
worried about?
That they're ganking me.
Okay, but you're leaving your lane, but you're
Oh,
technically
they're
still
gonna push the tower, yeah.
okay. They're gonna push your tower, right?
Yeah, if
Okay,
they,
so it's
that's my
defending
worry.
your
If I leave
tower.
the tower, Yeah.
That's your only
Okay.
concern.
You're
So
you're asking it that way, yeah.
yeah, so if Ogre defends the tower, do you ever have to come back?
No, if
No,
he's able to
right? So then you have
defend,
to ask
yeah.
yourself, can my Ogre defend the tower by himself? Do I need to be here? Like, can I be here? You know, like, if you think, okay, I want to defend this tower, but I'll just die if I walk there, don't defend it, right?
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I want you to trust that. I don't want you to feel forced to defend your tower. I want you to just think, can I defend this? No.
Yeah.
And this is, when are you thinking this, right? You've already decided you're going to go jungle. This is being thought about while you're just casually hitting some creeps. You know, there's nothing else that's going through your mind. There's no mechanical difficulty here. You know, you're literally just clicking some jungle creeps, and while you're doing that, you're looking at the map. You're thinking, am I going to come back to lane? The goal of this is to balance mechanical stuff and, you know, thinking about
Not
the
having too
game
much,
stuff. That's why it's hard early to worry about like 5-minute rotations, because usually at that point you're still mechanically very worried about your positioning, your laning, you're going for every CS. But at this stage in the game, you know, at this moment, even when this 5 seconds that I'm walking back to my tower, I think, do I want to be here? You know, fuck. And this is great where after the game you can think to yourself, oh, like I shouldn't have been here, like I should have left earlier. You can even think about it like right when you die, but you know, by the time you respawn, you're no longer thinking about what happened. You're just thinking about what we're doing next, right? So here you die. No terrible shock there. Their mid threatens you. He also had a DD, and he also killed your mid, so he's not worried about anything.
Yeah.
Let's see what you do. So you walk to jungle. Okay. Would definitely go hit my mag up for an empower there.
Yeah. I'm not gonna mention too much because he's gonna watch this video. But you'll see how many times I get.
Yeah, you should just meet him. Like, so like in this case, I told you talking about jungle, I talk about lanes. But like in this case, like when you have a mag, you definitely need to think like, how can I tie in meeting up with my mag? You know, how can I make that come into my rotation? So like right here, I'm finishing this camp. Like I'm doing this camp right here, and I'm like, hey mag, meet me right here. You know, just come meet me like right over here. And he'll walk 400 units, you'll walk 500 units, and you're empowered, right? Like, it's not too much to ask from him, and you know you're actually gaining speed out of it. So even though you're walking out of your way, it's technically.
I had camps to farm down there as well. So.
Yeah, there's stuff there, right? So
yeah.
It's just thinking like, you know, I have camps to farm. I'll just farm all I can, and meanwhile, I want to meet up with mag as often as I can. Okay, so they're pushing top. So Yasha's just not an option here. It's just not. You're against Lion, Storm, Lich, Undying.
But it was good for farming, plus if Storm jumps me or AM jumps me, Mantis is good. It's kind of what I...
Yeah, but before you get there, you had to buy a Yasha, and that's, you know, until you have 4,000 gold from now, you're going to have 800 health.
Yeah, okay.
So... Once again, we're in the lane, and you said I wanted to hit creeps or whatever, and I'll buy the stick later. You're dealing with Undying level 1, so you have to buy items right now. What are you dealing with while you farm right now?
Oh, well, the occasional gank, yeah.
From who?
From Storm.
Okay, what item could help you potentially farm, but also deal with Storm?
Dragonlance.
Perfect, right? Like, you know, obviously... So in this case, when deciding between Dragonlance and Yasha, I kind of talked about this on Terrorblade. In my Terrorblade guide, it's like Yasha's the more efficient farming item, but some games I just can't afford to go at Yasha first because I'm sitting at 800 health, right? So it's an example where even though the item theoretically makes you hit creeps faster, if you die a single time because you went Yasha instead of Dragonlance, you are being inefficient, right? Like that's just how it is. So... While I'm farming, you said you knew these questions. You clearly watch my stuff. You pay attention. You said, like, what kills me? You know, who am I worried about? And then you're buying Yasha. You know, please, line it up. Like, you have the right questions. You know this stuff. You told me you're worried about getting ganked. Go ahead.
I have the wrong I have the wrong answers. You know, that's what I'm like.
No, go ahead.
I've heard also that the Yasha improves my farming, right? Because it's good for farm. So if you want to go in the jungle, get a Yasha. So I haven't really thought of, the lance also gives you agility, obviously.
Okay, here's how Dota works. I'm actually going to talk to you about this. I'm going to interrupt you, okay?
Yeah, sure.
We are going to apply this to universal, okay? Universally on heroes, okay? we're ignoring maybe Anti-Mage, okay, where the hero goes Battle Fury. We're ignoring him. Every other hero that has like some sort of farming mechanic, a lot of them have an efficiency item, okay? Like for Terrorblade, it's Yasha. For Faceless Void, it's like a Midas or a Maelstrom, you know, like these type of items. But what is the number one farming restrictor in all of Dota? I'm asking you.
Yeah.
What is it?
Restrictor of farm.
Like what is the number one factor in Dota
Dying?
that what?
Dying?
Dying. So what should be your first concern when you are farming?
Yeah, not dying.
Not how fast you farm, but whether or not you'll fucking die while you farm.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you think, oh, you know, Manta's nice against Storm, I'll ask you, please, you know, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence.
I get it.
Do you really think you're going to get 5,000 gold before Storm ganks you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you ain't getting 5,000 gold item before Storm goes for you.
Hey, could happen. Maybe you forgot about me.
I'm saying, like, assuming the Storm's competent. You have to give your opponents credit, and if they don't take use of it, then great. Like, if you're assuming he's ganking you and you go Lance and he doesn't gank you, then that's way better than assuming he's not going to gank you and going Yasha. You know, like, one way is
Play the game
punishable.
right.
Yeah, play the game right, according to what the opponent should do. You know, like if they don't do it, whatever. Like, you know, if you assume they're going to do what they should do and you're prepared for it, one, you have the items to deal with it, or two, they don't play optimally and you're fine. Like that's the two choices. So that definitely a big problem with the Yasha. Yeah, I mean that's it right there. That's exactly it. You're also like, I don't mind if you want to use meta to try to fight back onto the map. You're feeling a bit pressured. All good.
You know, he got them both in the RP, and I was like,
no, I think you fighting here is reasonable. I really do think like either drums into the Dragonlance or straight up Ogre Club. I'd probably go first here, or if I don't have the Ogre Club yet, I just wouldn't fight. You know, at this point, like, understanding what you want to do in the game, you're like, okay, I don't feel comfortable just farming all the time. By the way, you need to get way better at this. Do you know what I'm flaming here?
Not sure. My usage of illusion. Hello?
Oh, you can't see my mouse, can you?
No. You have your stream on, or?
No, I are you watching on Discord?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't see my mouse on there, can you?
No, I don't think I see
yeah,
it.
it's kind of weird that it does. Wait, let me try this 1 second. Stop streaming. Share your screen. Screens. Let's try this. Can you see my mouse now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna remember this from now on.
Okay. Yeah, stacking. Yeah.
Yeah, so like,
I am actually terrible at that.
No,
yeah.
so like the thing is, right? I realized this watching Arteezy a lot. Okay, it's quite simple. Where's the safest place for you to farm on the map?
Triangle.
Okay, are you going to be able to clear all 3 of these camps in a minute?
In 1 minute from now.
Like in the next minute, from 14 to 15, will you clear all 3 of these camps? Fast enough?
No.
You don't think Terrorblade can clear 3 camps in a minute?
Yes.
Like, do you actually not think he can clear 3 camps in a minute?
You asked it so weirdly. I was like, "Fuck, maybe not." Then.
Okay, my question is, if yes, then what's the issue if you don't stack this? That means you have to leave 1 camp earlier. Wouldn't you rather just have 4 safe camps in the 14-minute mark than 3?
Yes.
Right? Like, that's how I looked at it. I was like, oh, I realized that his farming pattern is restricted to triangle, so a lot of times he'll, like, farm earlier on the dangerous farm a bit, you know, over here from the 13-minute mark, and then he'll work his way towards the Ancients and here, and then at, like, the 13:55, he'll stack the Ancients and the big camps such that he can stay in the triangle for the entire minute. You know, like, that's what he'll do. So I just noticed that, like, if I notice a part of the map that's safe, I like to end my farming pattern there, if possible, and stack something, because then I get to stay there longer. Okay, so, yeah, this is bad for sure. Little efficiency thing that just need to remind yourself of. Your mag literally is walking past you. Okay. I'm a bit worried about this participation, but I think since you showed up to the fight late and they had used a lot of their spells already, I guess it's okay. I just...
I don't have the items yet.
Yeah, it's just the lack of items that I'm nervous about. Like, if I was going Yasha, I'm implying to myself that I don't plan to fight them ever. So I want your items to kind of line up with what you're
Makes
doing.
sense. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I know.
So it does end up working out.
Yeah.
It's literally it's straight up like, I actually don't mind your decision making here. I just wish you had the items that lined up with how you played the game. So if you see a game like this in the future, be like, okay, I feel like I was forced to fight a lot more. Is there an item I could have gone other than Yasha that could help me a bit?
Yeah.
I wanted to farm but also fight. That's kind of how you come to the conclusion of the right item. This should have been stacked. Crappa.
Yeah, I know.
That's a huge deal. You can put that one as like a little sticky note for yourself.
I have a notepad open.
Yeah.
I do really struggle with. I want to participate a lot more than like AFK farming kind of thing is. I don't know. I just feel I don't know.
Okay,
I feel I need to participate in fights, even
I
though I'm
understand.
on a farming carry. And I go
It's a
fucking
hard
farming
mentality
item.
to get past, but you literally have to ask yourself, do my items help me fight? And if the answer is yes, you fight. If the answer is no, you don't fight. And if you're in games where you feel like you had to fight, you have to ask yourself, were there items I could have bought to fight better? If the answer is yes, you should have bought them. If the answer is no, then you're just not fighting.
Right.
That's the two, like, right? So, like, if you don't have an item that ever helps you fight, that means you probably picked a bad hero for the game, or, you know, you just really had to dodge fights, you know? So in this case, I'm going to talk to you real quick, okay? So, wait, did you have a comment? I might have interrupted you.
No. Exactly. Like I didn't choose a fighting item, which I sometimes don't because I want to farm. I need to farm. I need maybe 3 items before I feel I can join a fight or, you know, but then I just get sucked into it. I just can't leave my team alone.
Confidence in you need to remind yourself constantly, are you fighting or farming? What are you doing next? Who's threatened you? This is stuff you actually need to periodically update yourself with, okay? So like it's maintenance. It's literally like lifestyle maintenance. This shit applies to real life too. What's the best way to stay sane in real life is to constantly ask yourself how you're doing. It really is.
Right.
Like, you know, you don't go from happy to miserable in one day. Obviously, there's some things that happen that are tragic, but in a normal situation, you know, life becomes hard over the course of months. It really does, right? And like for me, at least, all the times I've had a hard time in real life, I don't want to just wake up one day sad, you know? I did something wrong for the last month and a half, and suddenly I'm a bit down on myself. And I really have to then reflect on what can I fix. It is the same shit in Dota. I know we've made this sort of a life lesson coaching session, but hey, it's the same shit in Dota. You don't just wake up and say, am I fighting or not? Fuck. Like a team fight breaks out. Do I want to fight? You had to be thinking about that shit the entire time. You know, like, do I want to fight right now? Like, just ask yourself. Am I fighting? And like, if you think yes, then take a guess where you think the fight would happen. If you guys are losing, where are you most likely going to fight?
Yeah.
If you're losing, I'm asking you.
If we're losing, well, they're obviously going to push top now.
Okay, so most of the fights you would show up to are there. And where else would you be in fighting if you're losing? So that's the objective they would take. If they wanted to invade your farm, where would they go?
Mid tower.
They are. That's not an objective.
Invade my triangle and my
triangle, right? So the two places you're likely going to fight when you're behind are your own safe lane tower or mid, depending on which one's still there. Like in this case, your safe lane tower's there, or your triangle, because that means that's where they're invading, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's every game. Like say they took this tower and instead of your mid tower, the place you're going to fight is around mid tower or on your triangle. It's that way every single game. It really is. Like just watch. Like it happened here. Like, you know, the one fight you took was top. So my point being is once you understand basics, it's not basic. The basics of the advanced concepts of if I'm ahead, it's going to be down here. If it's behind, it's going to be down here. Or up here, I mean, right? Or here. It's here or here. If I'm ahead, it's here or here. It's like, or, you know, if you already took this tower, it's going to be here or here, right? Like, it's the objective plus triangle. Objective plus triangle. It's the same shit every fucking game. Like, it really is. So, my point being is that's the basics. Obviously, there's exceptions where very few times it happens differently. But, for your own sake and simplicity of learning this concept, you need to assume that's how it works, okay?
Yeah,
every
okay.
single
Yeah, this is
time.
easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
assume that, and when the exceptions happen, like look for them, But like it's much easier to like do it every single time, and then when 10% of the time it isn't that way, figure out why the 10% of the time it wasn't that way, rather than trying to figure out exactly is this one of the 90%? Like just fucking just fucking assume it is, really. And
I'll just
eventually
ask
go ahead.
because if I assume that's the state, like, okay, that's the concept of the game. Like, they want our safe lane tower, we want their safe lane tower in mid. If we're ahead, we would also invade their triangle. Would that be our goal? As like sometimes, obviously, we're ahead. Would that be like something when I'm playing? Okay, guys, we need to try and take over their triangle farm.
Yes.
If
So
we're
my
if
question for
we've
you
taken
would
their
be,
mid, then
why
they're
would you not do it yet? Why would you not? Yeah, so you're right. The question is like once you've taken mid tower and bottom tower, you're usually going to invade their triangle. So what's
okay.
the question? This applies to literally any objective in the game. So if you ask yourself, okay, I know the next objective is this.
But I don't know that I don't have this playbook that it feels like you kind of have. Like,
Bottom,
these are the
mid.
steps. Yeah.
Okay, so here's how it works. Okay. I'm actually going to save this individual part of the session for a separate video on YouTube, so
For sure.
people like you can look at
Yeah.
it
I
again if
don't
you
have
need
this
to.
playbook.
Yeah,
I don't know
okay.
that
Okay,
it should be
so
now.
42
Yeah.
minutes in, I'm gonna write it down on my YouTube here. 1 second. Just so I don't forget to do it after.
Yeah.
8, 28, 29, or 28,
I'd love to have like,
43
okay, we've
minutes
done
in,
this, we've done that.
outline of objectives on the map. Okay. We're going to give... Okay, guys, we're in the middle of a coaching session right now, but he really feels like he wants this. I talked about it in the past, but I don't have a specific video on this. So I figure it's best to probably put a little segment where him as my coaching student, as well as anyone else wondering what is the order of objectives in Dota. And I want to say that in general, there's always exceptions to Dota. There's no laws in this game, but there are rules that commonly impact the objectives that are being taken. So for the sake of this video, this isn't going to be a why video. This is going to be a what video. What happens in the game, and then on your own, when you're watching professional matches, when you're watching your own games, you can just try to figure out the why yourself, because the why would require a much longer video than 5 minutes. So let's go ahead and lay this out. We're going to tell you that the map is reflected on Radiant. So what I mean is everything I tell you that's for Dire, I say bottom tier 1 for Dire, is top tier 1 from Radiant's perspective. So let's just assume the map is mirrored so we're going to be coming from the perspective of Dire this game, or for the sake of this video. The order of objectives is as follows. Mid and bottom tier 1 are almost always first. The only exception to this is when the carry wins his lane really hard and takes the top tower at like 5 to 8 minutes into the game. That's pretty much the only exception to that one. And that's not really an objective your team's like grouping up for. It's just an objective that naturally happens. So it's bottom or mid tower. These are, when I say objectives, this is stuff that the entire team has to worry about. And it's stuff that's going to be like a gank that's leading into it. It's going to be bringing 3 or 4 heroes to push the tower, all that kind of stuff. So if I had to give an exact order, it would be bottom tier 1 into mid tier 1. So what happens is you take bottom tier 1. What usually happens is one of your farming heroes plays this area on the map. That person's going to constantly push in bottom while the rest of your team plays around here. Maybe somebody's going to defend top, but we're talking about the objectives your team is trying to get. So you're going to have one hero pushing bottom, and then eventually your next objective is going to be mid tier 1. Every time you ask yourself about an objective, it is a very straightforward question, guys. We have already told you what the next objective is going to be. You have to ask yourself what levels and items and cooldowns your team needs to take that objective. That is the only thing you have to figure out. It is much harder to do that than I make it out to be. But once you've established the next objective, just ask yourself when you think you can take it. So we take bottom tier 1. Next is mid tier 1. At that point on Dire, you have two choices. You either take the bottom tier 2 or you take Roche. The bottom tier 2 helps you secure the outpost before 20 minutes, in this case especially, or before a 10-minute mark interval. But obviously we're talking about 7.27 in case the patch does change eventually where that doesn't matter anymore. So a lot of it has to do with whether or not it's the tier 2 bottom or it's Roche, is whether or not your heroes are really good at pressuring towers. If your heroes suck at pressuring towers, something I actually dealt with in a recent coaching session, say you have an Ursa or something like that, Roche is probably your better objective. You also have to consider, if you go for this bottom tier 2, that the opponent might just take Roche. So the two factors that kind of decide this for me is how well my team takes towers and if we're worried about the opponent team taking Roche because we're on the bottom half of the map. So it's either tier 2 or Roche. Make your best guess for which one you think you should do first, and then ask yourself how you get it. So once you get Roche, that means when we talk about the dead lane concept, guys, we play 2 lanes. People seem to overcomplicate or oversimplify whichever direction you go, the dead lane. The dead lane concept means that if you play 3 lanes, once you start worrying about objectives, the opponent's going to see 1 hero in each lane, and they're going to go, wow, the enemy team is separated. Let's kill one of them. So you can't play 3 lanes. So if you're playing based off proximity, right? We talk about not getting separated on the map. That's why you're not able to play 3 lanes. Mid lane is pretty much never the dead lane. Are there exceptions? Sure, but it's usually not mid because of proximity to the other 2 lanes. So if we're playing for bottom tier 2, guess what? We're playing mid and bottom. If we're playing for Roche, we're playing mid and top. Pretty straightforward. Great stuff. If your team can get on that same page, really cool. So after we take Roche, or mid, if we take this tier 2, there's pretty much nothing for us to play for anymore, right? Down here, there's no more objectives. We're not just going to go tier 3, right? That's crazy. Why would we do that? That would require a very niche situation where the opponent's so far behind and you have like a Lycan or a Visage or some shit that just kills the buildings. So, after we've taken this tier 2, let's assume we took that direction. We say, okay, well, the next objective is to take Roche. What do we need to take Roche? We need this little triangle right here. We need this nice little triangle control. So what are we going to do? We're going to stay bottom until we are strong enough to take over the top part of the map. Ask yourself, what items, what cooldowns, what abilities, what levels do we need to take over this part of the map so we can take Roche? So, if we choose to go for the Roche route, then you just have to ask yourself, are we playing top and mid or top and bottom? Mid and bottom. Doesn't really matter at that point because the objectives are all towers. They're all equal. At that point, just ask yourself, would you rather be top and mid or bottom and mid? So that's a pretty straightforward game plan for the objectives. Because it's not as clear-cut as I made it sound at the beginning, we'll quickly talk from Dire's perspective. So for the first 2 towers, or from Radiant's perspective, for the first 2 towers, it's the same thing. It really, usually you'll take top tier 1, and sometimes it's mid tier 1. A lot of times it does based off of who's in the game. So like if you have a mid Death Prophet or a DK, it's more likely to be this tower. But if your offlaner's like a Beastmaster or your carry's like a Terrorblade, it's more likely to be the opponent's safe flame tower. A lot of it has to do with which hero on your team is pushing that decides which one of these towers goes first. This tower, once again, only really dies when the carry is super farmed, super far ahead, and the offlane's so weak early they can't defend it. Now that we've taken this tower and this tower, because we say it's this one and then this one, or vice versa, it's now this tower and Roche. But the beauty of playing on Radiant is they're on the same part of the map. Woo! So, basically, there's no circumstances where you are ahead on Radiant that you would ever go bottom. It just makes no sense. No objectives. 2 objectives. Crazy. So, on Radiant, if you're ahead, you pretty much always play top and mid. The only exception is if your team's really not strong enough to take Roche. And so if you're not strong enough to take Roche, then that's not really an effective objective for you to be threatening. So if you're like, we're really far ahead, and we don't really want this tier 2, and we don't want Roche, what's the other option? We invade the triangle! Woo! So for Dire, the main choice is between tier 2 and Roche. And the Roche kind of comes with invading the triangle. Okay, that those two things go hand in hand when you're Dire. When you're Radiant, you're choosing between threatening Roche and tier 2 at the same time, or invading their safest farm on the map of the triangle. Those are the 2 choices you have. So once you take over this part of the map as Radiant, if you chose to do that over getting Roche, You're doing the same thing. Why did we choose this over Roche? Because we weren't strong enough to Roche yet. Whether or not that's because our heroes aren't very good at Roche, or whether or not that's because we're scared if we go into Roche, the opponent can just contest us. Even though they're losing, putting ourselves in the pit is a very dangerous thing. So we might put ourselves in a situation we're not strong enough to handle just yet. So we take over this part of the map because it's where the opponent likes to farm, and we're thus then constricting their farm. If you're on Dire, it's just more impactful to take 2 lanes on this side of the map, because even though you're not constricting their farm as much, you are farming 2/3 of the map, which is really nice for you. So, lastly, when we wrap up this quick concept, all it comes down to, when it comes to these 2 decisions you make after you take the tier 1 and mid and bottom, or mid and top here, is what do our heroes do best? And the learning process for each of you in terms of the why is what heroes do certain objectives better and why, what type of skill sets are required to get these objectives done, and you'll start noticing patterns. You can watch pro games, you can make guesses, and it's awesome process that even I still learn about when I'm watching Pro Dota. So, that's it.
Makes perfect sense. This is just maybe it seems natural to you, or
It's
like you
100%
said,
natural to me, but I know it's not as natural to anybody else.
This is just way like I'm thinking hit creeps, get items that kind of counters or interacts with the other team's heroes.
Okay.
Much more so than objectives. Like I don't have like need to. Okay, there's a tower. We should probably push it.
Hey, man,
Or
so
there's something.
Here's the
we should
beauty here's the beauty of what I just laid out for you. Okay, it's really not that hard to remember if you just study it a bit. Okay, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the beauty of it. There's 3 questions you have to answer to come to the right decision once you understand that. For like the first 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Those questions are: am I fighting? Who's ahead? And where would they push? Or what objective are they going to go for?
Okay.
If we're ahead, what are we going for? If they're ahead, what are we going? If we're ahead, what are we going for? If they're ahead, what are they going for? Right? Like that's all you have to think about. So like when you're on Dire and you'd ask yourself, are we ahead or behind? Behind. What objective would they go for? Triangle or top? Will I fight top or will I fight triangle? Which one would I fight at? And what items do I need to do that? And how often, or like, when we start getting more in depth, it's like, how early do I think they're going to do that? Do I think they're going to go for Roche at 18 minutes? Do they have an Ursa? They might do it at 12. Fuck. It's like, that's the hard part. That's why it's like easy to remember this stuff, but it's not easy to know exact timings and when stuff's going to happen and how it's going to happen, right?
And solving the issue that you're asking, like how do I solve that problem?
But the thing is, right, is I never want you to be farming your triangle and reactionarily see a fight going on top and being like, oh, I guess I'll show up. You need to know it's going to be there or the triangle. You just have to know that. It's going to be there. One of those 2 places. Like, it's going to be there. So if it's going to be there, I just want you while you're farming triangle to be like, would I fight top?
Yeah.
And then if a fight happens at any point in the next 3 minutes, you're saying yes or no. And then you go to it or not. But it's not, it's premeditated. Like, that's the goal. And it's like, if you don't go to the fight, what my expectation is, okay, if you see a fight break out top and you're not going to it, what do you do no matter what you're doing on the map that moment?
You push out the opposite lane.
You push out the opposite lane, right? Like, it's that simple. When there's a fight going on, you either show up to it or you go to the opposite part of the map and push it. Like, that's the 2 choices.
So these are the kind of things like, okay, I know if they come there and I don't want to show up, my immediate reaction will be, but sometimes I'll probably run. Oh wait, I can't. Yeah. So no, it's good. Like, give me a fucking playbook, man.
Like, this is very black and white, right? The playbook is meant to be advanced map movements for noobs. Like, this is what I'm trying to accomplish here, right? Like, no offense about the noob part, but like the idea is that it's not this simple when you get to the highest level, but if you think about this stuff at a very simple level, you're thinking at a higher level than the opponents are in your games. Like, you're going to outmaneuver them because of the basic application of this. At my bracket, you can't apply it this basically because it doesn't work. Like, there is more to it than that. But it's really cool. So you're farming your triangle. All you have to say is, am I ahead or behind? Okay, I'm behind. Okay, it's my triangle or top, and just guess.
If I do or
just
not.
just guess what they're gonna do based on their heroes, right? So, like, with Anti-Mage, are they really going to try to invade your farm?
No,
Like,
yeah,
they're not going to go for the farm invasion route, right? Like, they're going to go for the tower route, like, because that's what Anti-Mage does. He split pushes waves and naturally clears, okay? That's, like, but I'm not expecting you to know that part. I just want you to make a guess. Like, I told you it's either there or there. Just make a guess, and if you're right, great. If you're wrong, after the game, ask yourself, you know, like, what did I miss here? You know, why did that catch me off guard? So, my question would be, you know, at least I hope you do, based on, you know, how much you said you watch my videos, that it's a cardinal sin to TP to your own safe lane, right?
Say again?
Do you know that it's a cardinal sin to TP to your own safe lane?
Yeah.
Okay. So, why did you TP to your own safe lane here? I've told you there's exceptions that make it okay. And I'm asking you, like...
There was a lot of farm there.
Okay, there's a lot of farm. And what would be the primary deterrent from you TPing top? Why is it bad to TP top?
Because it's the dead lane now. Like,
okay,
that's their next objective. And
so you're worried that because you TP here, they kill you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the crazy high-level part of Dota. That's just going to hopefully blow your fucking mind. So, why is it technically okay for you to TP top right now?
Why it's technically okay? Well, if I'm able to bait, I kind of have...
Are we fighting here? Your meta's going to be off on cooldown and like out of duration in like 5 seconds. Are we fighting here? Come on.
What do you mean?
Your meta's almost out. Are you fighting here?
No. We're not fighting.
So, what do you mean by bait?
No, I'm saying you're just asking me if there is any way this should be an okay move. And I'm like, well,
so it's not to bait because that implies fighting, which your meta's out, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
So what would make this move okay?
If nobody came up here
to kill you,
and I just got the farm. Yeah.
So who would do that?
Come up here and kill me.
Yeah, who would?
Storm.
Okay. So why is it okay that you TP it here?
No, I'm not saying it is.
No, why is it okay, though? You just told me Storm's the one that's going to come here and kill you.
Well, he's dead.
Okay. So how long are you allowed to stay here for?
Right, okay, yeah.
How long are you allowed to stay here for? Answer my question.
Till he's respawned and...
so say that was a Queen of Pain, right? Say that's a Queen of
Yeah.
Pain. When she respawns, how long is it going to take her to get top?
Based on their towers, it's going to take, maybe 5-7 seconds.
7 seconds.
Or
The
even
3-second
more.
TP and 2 blinks, right? So I'd say 15 seconds-ish.
Yeah.
Because the
yeah.
3-second TP and 2 blinks, right?
Yeah.
She's going to get there in 15 seconds. How long is it going to take a Storm to get there?
Half.
3 seconds to TP and 2 seconds of ball lightning?
Yeah.
5 seconds. So how long you got to be here?
3.
You have 6 seconds of his respawn, and then 5 seconds after he's respawned. How long do you have to be here?
5 plus 6.
11 seconds.
Or
right?
even less.
I'm saying like 11 seconds if you're like
show it.
really trying to thread the fucking needle. All right? Like, that's the point though, right? I asked you why you wouldn't go top, and you said because they could come here and kill me. Then it's like, okay, well, when am I allowed to TP to my safe lane? Well, when the heroes that kill me are not fucking alive or they're not able to be there. It's like if Storm TP'd bottom, that would also be a reason for you to be allowed to TP to your own safe lane because he's not there. Right? So I know I'm being harsh, but I'm just trying to like really,
not being harsh.
really drive this home, okay? So let's be very clear. We're going to assume our enemies are not dumb, okay?
Yeah.
If you're the opponent, let's hero perspective, the Radiant side. Free camera, hero perspective, or fog of Radiant. Can we see? Okay. So Storm, he's the one trying to kill you, right? He's going to be the one that tries to kill you. Right?
Yeah.
I see this. Where are you going? Where are you going to go next? What am I going to assume you're going to do?
Either push lane or the next hard camp.
Okay, so I see this right here. Where are you?
Hard camp.
So why the fuck are you farming this hard camp? Isn't that exactly, like, so fucking obvious? Could he be 2K and maybe figure that out?
Probably.
Like, he really could. That's not hard at all.
Right.
So, when would you be allowed to farm this hard camp?
If he was still dead?
If you knew that he knew that, and it wouldn't matter.
Right, yeah.
Like, it wouldn't matter that he knew
won't
that.
kill me.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever would have killed, like, whatever knows you're there couldn't kill you anyway. Like, that's... People don't realize this shit. What the opponent sees determines so much of your fucking farming patterns. It's like, where do you think this guy went? He just cleared the wave. Like, this is where you'd watch, like, you know, a 9k carry player or higher. They'd farm this, and then they'd walk this way.
Yeah.
While they send an illusion down the way, right? And the opponent's going to do this looking for you, and you're going to be, like, doing this. You know, like, that's what top-tier players do, because it takes that foresight to be like, well, it's really obvious that I would have walked here, right? So they're going to assume you do that. And if they assume you do that and you're not doing that, then they know by moving here you're not farming. Like, it's the same idea. Like, they're making the right move. Like, the Storm is making the right move to come here, right? So he's assuming you're doing the optimal, efficient play. If you're not doing it, he's not going to get you. But if you're doing and you're not farming, or if you're doing it, he's going to kill you, right? Like, that's the two outcomes from his perspective. So, yeah, you TP top, which I actually didn't mind, but you obviously just fucking made this, you know, silver platter for the Storm here. Okay. So the thing about items that is beautiful is when it comes to thinking about where you're farming on the map and how aggressively you want to play and objectives you want to take, if you're thinking about that kind of stuff, all you have to ask yourself is, what's stopping me? Like, I don't necessarily know for sure. You said, you know, maybe your answers aren't always right. But hey, if I just ask myself, what do I think's stopping me? If I want to hit buildings, how do I die? You know, is it the Storm Orchid? Like, if I get out of the Orchid, is that enough? Maybe I'll just get Storm pulled and then Lion fingered. Maybe I need Orchid plus Scotty. Or, sorry, Manta plus Scotty. Because at that point, I can always remove the silence and I'll be able to not get bursted instantly. You know?
Yep.
But, like, for me, I'm always trying to paint this picture of exactly how I think I'm going to die. There's plenty of times, okay? There's plenty of times that even people above my tier will do similar shit in their head, and they'll be wrong, right? They're going to be wrong sometimes. We don't always have the perfect gauge of whether or not we're going to die here. But we just have to guess, man. We just, you know, like, next time, like, you say you think the Manta's enough, and then you die instantly to Storm Pull, Lion Finger, and you're dead. Next time around, you'll be like, maybe I needed a Scotty. Or, you know, maybe I got... If Scotty's would have helped for the burst, maybe you got gone on by a lineup with a bunch of slows and shit, and they just chased you for an hour. You know, or chased you for 45 seconds. At that point, what item might be better? If they... Like, if they went on you, didn't burst you, but chased you for, like, 45 seconds, and you died.
Pike,
BKB... You know, like, those are the two options. But that's, like, items you can use as a reactionary way to get away from them. Yeah. While Scotty's like they're going to go on me, they're going to stun me, I just need to not die in the stuns, right? Like, that's what Scotty does. So, or, you know, Sanj and Yasha. But obviously you chose Manta. I think the Manta was reasonable. But, yeah, so, obviously Dota's a hard game, and that's why you're here. But, okay. So... Meta's on cooldown, not ideal there. This is also a travesty. This should never happen.
Yeah.
You were dead, by the way. Like, you literally died at 19 minutes. What are you thinking here? Are you, like, thinking you might need to go BKB? Or are you just forgetting?
No, this doesn't... I don't know. Because I usually don't have an issue spending my gold or...
So this is just... You're promising me you don't do this very often?
Yeah.
Well, the answer should be that literally happens zero.
Yeah.
That should never happen.
I don't know. I should have sent the courier while I was dead, obviously.
Yeah. You should do that while you're alive. But at the very least, while you're dead, yeah. But, like, you should do it while you're alive. Okay.
If I had the Manta when he jumped me top.
Did you think you were going high ground there? I'm just curious.
No.
I think you guys were kind of crazy for pushing the tower, to be honest with you. But, you know...
It's 3K, man.
Yeah,
we do crazy shit.
Yeah, to each your own, you know? Okay. Okay. End up killing the anti-mage. Very cool.
I'm still fighting. I know I don't have meta, but you know, we're three of us. We're, you know, kind of fighting heroes and
So what's the negative of running at heroes right now? Like what?
not farming,
Okay.
not
So
getting any
when you're not
objectives.
meta, do your illusions do anything?
Yeah, they could push lanes
Do
or
they fight
farm.
people?
They can, yeah.
Your illusions in melee form fight people?
No, that's not their job. They
Okay,
can,
so
but yeah,
while
like
you're
I
running
said,
around
they
the map,
farm.
what could you be doing?
Mhm. Yeah, farm or split push with the illusions.
Yeah, at the very least, it's like, just send this illusion, here.
Uh, Maybe I didn't tell
Send it.
you, but my
You said your illusion micro's
mechanical,
bad, but that's just, then you shouldn't be playing Terrorblade.
well, trying to get better, I guess.
Okay, I'm saying, like, you can tell me it's bad, but it has to be better if you're going to play Terrorblade. It's
Right.
like, my choice is either I think I can get better at something and I'm going to play it all I can, or there's a hero like Meepo where it's like, I actually don't think I'll ever be able to play Meepo, so I just don't play Meepo. Like,
yeah.
I'm not going to play him.
Yeah.
I think Terrorblade is honestly one of the easier micro heroes. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't micro Terrorblade, you probably can't micro anybody else. Like, just to be honest with you, everyone watching. So it's like here, these are the type of situations where I don't think you should be fighting, but with Terrorblade specifically, you should 100%, if you are fighting, be clearing waves. Like that's within power, you're kind of decent in fights. You're like a Sven with no ult. That's kind of what you are. When you're having power. So it's like, okay, you don't
And
hit too.
bloodlust.
Yeah, like you're buffed up. Like you'll do something if you want to fight, but like you killed the anti-mage. So my question would be, when we kill people, I think you know this, but when we kill people, what do we have to think about?
Yeah, we ask her what can we, you know, do with
And what's like the
this
best way to figure that
upper
out? Like what's the best way to figure out what to do when you kill somebody?
do something.
Isn't
I
it
don't know
based
what
off
you
the
mean.
hero you killed? And
Yeah.
how would it be based off that hero? Like, what does a hero being dead be relevant to our team?
Can push.
Let's not talk about pushing. I'm asking you how the hero is relevant. Like, okay, my question would be, if Anti-Mage is alive, what is he
Right.
preventing from your team being able to do? Is he their D pusher?
He's the split pusher, so,
So
he
what
pushes
does
our
he?
towers.
So he pushes lanes.
Yeah, he makes us react to
while Anti-Mage
his
is
placement.
alive, he pushes lanes, right?
Yeah.
So when he's dead, what should he respond to?
What
like-
we should respond to
No,
when
what
he's
should
dead?
he respond to? Like when he comes back to life, what should he see? Because what does his hero do?
Push. We just established that. Push lanes.
Okay,
split
so when
push.
he's alive, what should be the map? Like what should it look like based on the
Yeah.
Anti-Mage hero? What should it look like?
It should be dark.
It should be
Or
3
less
lanes
towers.
into his fucking towers. Because that's what he does in the game.
Yeah.
So if Storm Spirit's dead, what does he do?
If he's dead,
No,
he
if he's
ganks.
if he's alive, what does he do? Storm.
He tries to gank.
Okay, so what does that do to affect your team?
We should group up,
Okay.
not get cut off one by
So
one.
if he's dead, what can you do?
Split push.
Split up a lot more. Maybe look for other kills because what's the main reason we don't ever go for kills? Like why would if you're thinking about kills as like an aggressive move, we're talking about in lane, we're talking about in game, why would you not go for kills?
If it doesn't benefit us, and
I would like to really shift your perspective here. How about I'm fucking afraid of dying if I go for the kill?
okay,
Like
yeah.
I'm scared they're just gonna kill me if I go to kill them. So have you
Yeah.
ever thought about the fact that their strongest kill hero means that you should run around the map killing everybody? Because they can't kill you?
Yeah,
Watch Pro Dota.
No,
Whenever the
yeah.
primary ganker for a team dies, their entire map goes black. Not because all the lanes are pushed in, but because the enemy team just placed 4 heroes up in their face and they're like, now what? Like, we want to fight and push them away, but our strongest kill hero's dead.
Yeah.
And then we just can't do shit. Like, wouldn't that be the case in this game? Like, if Storm's dead, can the enemy team do shit? Like, what can they do?
we were kind of grouped up, and we saw 2 out of position. You know, we almost caught them.
But my point is
felt
when
it.
Anti-Mage is dead, right? Like, if you're going to fight, which is fine, it actually kind of makes sense that you would group up. Because even though you killed the Anti-Mage, the Storm Lion are still alive, and if you were to separate, they could actually kill you guys, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to group up, though, and I told you Anti-Mage pushes lanes, what needs to be happened while you group up? The lanes need to get pushed, right? Like, the lanes, man, the lanes. So it's like, even if you weren't Terrorblade, it's like, at this case, if you had no Terrorblade, say you were some other hero, I'd be like, okay, your team needs to go as 4 because Storm's still alive, and the hero that's allowed to split push by themselves should go push a lane.
Yeah.
Like, that's what should happen. Like, 4 of you push mid, and the 1 of you pushes bottom. Like, kind of what's happening here. But, you know, your illusions could do it, and you guys could be running around as 5. Like, that's actually what could be happening. That's the benefit of a Terrorblade, or, like, a Naga, or, you know, that kind of stuff. So, I know I'm going pretty advanced, as well as hard on, you know, a lot to think about. So I implore you to please watch this coaching session back, honestly, in like 5-minute pieces, man. Please do not rewatch it even in like 2 sessions. Like you need to watch it with the goal of this session for you is to be a lot of material for you to study a little bit of at a time for a long time. Like, I would hope this type of session could be stuff you could work on for like a year. Okay, like it really could be, but it's like, okay, you know, BSJ said, you know, this 5-minute segment, BSJ rattled on about this concept that, you know, he's practiced for 4 years. Maybe I should focus on this for my next 50 games, you know, like, and then after I feel like that 5 minutes is good, like that's the goal, right? This is going to be about an hour and a half session and gives you about a year of material. That's the hope. So I'm just telling you, if you try to figure all this out, like you look at this session in an hour and a half and then go play some Dota, you're gonna try to do it all and you're gonna fucking shit the bed. Okay, like that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna try to do it all and do none of it.
One goes for sure.
So
this guy doesn't fucking die. Do you want me to manta ulti or?
I got a serious question for you.
Yeah.
Why?
Meta?
Why are we hitting a tower? Are you strong? In a 5v5 engagement, you're strong? With Manta Mithril Hammer?
Just the general conception of like, I have meta, I can fucking kill everyone. But yeah. It's
yeah, you
like
just
I
I guess you just need to, you know, adjust your vision of Dota. Like, I actually don't have a better description here. Your abilities mean shit, dude. Like, your abilities combined with your items and situation in the game are like way more than just your abilities. Dota is not I have meta go, I have chrono go. It's literally like, if I have meta, that's a crucial part of me deciding whether or not I go or not. But it's like not enough, right? It's not like just because I have Faceless Void chrono, if there's nobody that's going to die to my chrono, like if I think to myself, if I show up to this fight, who am I chronoing? And there's no answer to that, I'm not going.
Yeah.
You know, like, once I pop meta here, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to get tombstoned and lion and stormed and die. What can I do to play around that with my items? What can I do?
Well, you obviously need.
Well, I'm saying like with I'm saying with current items you have right now, how can you play around that series of events?
I shouldn't be fighting.
I'm saying you can't play around it. Like, no execution threshold of your hero's abilities could lead to you outplaying what just happened here. You're asking me, should I have manted and ulted? I like, you want me to give you a series of buttons you could have pressed to live here? Like, there isn't one. You know, like, you're gonna die. Like,
Shouldn't be here.
That's the point, right? So it's like, yeah, Dota. I'm trying to paint like a nice black and white picture for you to give you a nice basis. But Dota's definitely not. I have meta. I have chrono. You know, go. That is not Dota. Like that is not. What it means is you're way stronger than when you don't have meta. So maybe if a fight's thrust upon you, that's one thing. Maybe if the enemy tries to go on you guys, you can respond. But there's a difference between being fight ready to respond and being fight ready to push something. Yeah, like pushing an advantage is like way different, right? Because when you put yourself in their vision for them to choose how to take the fight, that's a huge strategical disadvantage, right? Like in the fights. You're also pushing this tower when mid lane's at your tier 2 and you're a Terrorblade. get all the damn lanes in, or at least 2 of them. You know, like when we talk about being ahead, I know you're against anti-mage, so it's going to be difficult to get all 3 lanes in, but at least get 2 of them. You're ahead and you're a Terrorblade, right? So, okay, so we're dead. I'm gonna fast forward here.
Yeah, you know, we probably shouldn't play Terrorblade too much, especially when we're some of my friends playing together, because we kind of want to fight all the time.
I think
I'm
it's
not blaming
important.
them in
I think
any way.
no,
I'm
no.
just-
I understand. I also think like you should be able to play multiple types of heroes. But if they don't want to play with you, if you don't want to fight, then yeah, you shouldn't be picking Terrorblade.
Oh no,
But, like,
no, like it's not their fault, but you kind of get into like we're 3 of us. We just okay, let's go, let's fight. Let's it's kind of more exciting to
well, I
fight,
mean,
not
wait,
just farm.
you're telling me it's more exciting to fight than farm, and one of your favorite heroes is Terrorblade?
Oh, for me personally, no, I'm fine with it. But when we play, I don't, I play a lot of solo games, then I don't mind what the other people want to do. But playing together as friends, you kind of want to,
Okay,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't
like
know.
I
I kind of
understand,
feel like,
but I'll just tell you, party queue doesn't affect anything other than like a play that you wouldn't be able to make because it requires coordination can be made now.
yeah, goal should always be to win. I know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it
Play
doesn't
correctly.
change anything about the hero you're playing. Like, meaning, like, I'm not saying there's heroes you may be able to pick more likely in party queue because, say, like, you need a combo, like you want to play Grimstroke plus a stun or something. You know, it'd work better in party queue than it does in solo queue. But like, if you're playing Terrorblade in solo queue or party queue, it's the same hero.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it's just that or you kind of want to fight even though you shouldn't. Like I play the hero
Well, then you can
incorrectly.
practice discipline, is what I would say. Like, your choice is to either not pick him, like you said, or like you can even tell your friends, like, hey guys, honestly, like I know I feel like I fight too much on Terrorblade when we're party queuing. I'm gonna focus on taking the right fights, and just tell them that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I'm
like,
not blaming them at all. Like
I know
I
you're
also
not
wanna
blaming them.
fight.
You're getting defensive when I'm not accusing you of anything. Just
Right.
be very clear here. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm saying, like, if you tell your friends that, they'll know what to expect. Because, like, at the very least, if you're telling me, based on what I understand, is that if you play with your friends, you guys fight a lot. So if you're going to pick a hero and you are planning on working on not fighting as much, you should tell them that. You know, like, just so they are aware going into the game. It's actually important that people know what they expect from their teammates, heroes, and stuff. So
Be on the same page.
yeah, and it doesn't take much. It's just like, hey guys, trying to work on Terrorblade. I think I fight too much, or BSJ told me I fight too much, and I'll let you guys know when I'm gonna fight, but you guys do your thing. Terrorblade really is a hero that's like, until he hits massive power spikes where he's got like BKB, Scotty, Satanic. He's pretty much just letting his team do their thing, and if he has meta, he'll maybe join a smoke or something. But like, I remember I played with Charlie or somebody like that, like top 10 EU, and he didn't really say much all game, and then he hit like his 2 power spikes, and he was communicating every fight that he wanted to take. Because at that point, he's like really strong and he wants to fight. But at this stage, first like 20, 30 minutes of this game, you're just playing your own game, and if your team fights, it's your own choice to decide to show up or not. Like, that is completely independent of anything your team is doing. Like, it's just you thinking, hey, do I want to be here or not? I think one of the worst things that I've realized is, like, if I recognize my hero's not supposed to fight, in my bracket especially, I just have to trust that my teammates know that, and if they take a fight, I'm not going to be there. Like, they just know they're taking a fight 4v5. Like, that's just, or 4v4 or whatever. But if I decide to myself I am not fight ready, then I'm just not going. Like, it doesn't matter what happens in the game. But if you tell yourself, I don't want to fight, but I'm willing to, that's an example when you have meta, right? Like, say you don't have BKB yet, and you're like, I don't really want to fight, but if something happens here, I'd go. You know, or like, if they push us, if they go on my mag, I'd go. Stuff like that. But, like, you know, it's very different to say, I have meta, no BKB, and I'm just going to go hit a building. Okay, so we do send our illusion bottom. That's good. You do, in general, have your illusions too much with your hero. That's for sure. Like, this is a perfect example where you summon an illusion. What are the 2 most important... Or what's the most important lane in the game to push? For both sides. Mid, right? Should just go mid right now. Like
With the other illusion.
with the one you just spawned.
Okay.
The one you just spawned should 100% go mid. Because bottom lane,
A lot of heroes there.
like the thing is, like if you send it mid,
Mhm.
the enemy's either gonna stay and push it, or they're gonna leave and your illusion pushes it. Either way, it's like
Yeah,
what you
win-win.
could do is if you send your illusion, like the proper way actually would be if you send your illusion here, you send it to like right here. If they're gone, you send it down the lane. If they're not gone, you like linger it around here and then pick the wave up. Like you catch it like right here. Because most of the time they're not gonna just like push this and then walk down the lane. Like that's not usually what happens. If you go ahead.
No, I usually send both down to one and try and hard push one instead of two. So maybe I should be more.
Mid lane's
conscious
just the
of
most
trying.
important lane. Like it has to be pushed. Like it's just so important. I've talked about it a lot, and I maybe even need to make an individual video on that too. But the mid lane being pushed pretty much tells you who's winning. So if
Yeah,
you're
I remember
losing,
that.
if you're winning and you're not pushing it, you're playing badly. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
If you're winning the game and you're not pushing mid, you're playing badly. Like that's pretty much how it is. So it's just wrong priorities. It's not that I think splitting lanes equally is good. I'm telling you that mid lane matters more than anything else. So it needs to be first priority if you are capable of pushing it. So like if you're concerned, so I'm talking about mid being important right now, right?
Yeah.
So let's say you're concerned about the reason why I told you most people aren't going to group up and push a lane. Does this lineup group up and push a lane?
Not really.
Okay, so what if that lineup was a lineup that grouped up and pushed a lane, but you were concerned about mid? Where would you send your illusion?
Bottom.
I said
Why
we're
would you
concerned about mid.
Yeah, but why would you send it in illusions into their heroes? That's
Where
what
are their
I'm
heroes
in
going to
my
be?
mid.
Where mid? On
Like
the
they're
creep
push.
wave.
Yeah,
So where would you
they're
send
pushed.
your illusion?
You could cut the wave, I guess.
Yeah, behind the creep wave. Crazy. You send that illusion right here and catch the next one. And then you tell your team, hey guys, kill that wave and they can't push.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. So we know the mid lane is important. That's what we know. That applies every single game. The two choices are to push it directly or to cut it. Those are the two choices. Directly means our illusion or hero outpushes theirs. Cut it means they outpush us. We're just trying to prevent them from pushing. Right?
Yeah.
So pretty easy questions to ask yourself, and once you get in the habit, meaning like once this becomes ingrained, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
So in this case, the key is if you are a lane pusher for your team, anybody watching any hero you are playing, if you think it is your hero's job to push lanes, this lane does not left unattended. It is not left unattended. Mid lane is the most important fucking lane. And you need to always be considering, how am I pushing this lane? Like, always. It cannot be forgotten. So, all the other stuff, like pressuring bottom, it's all a bonus after you've taken care of this.
Yeah. I've honestly considered, like, I always try to push the enemy's safe lane with my illusions. That's been my answer to that kind of.
Well, the thing is, ideally, if the enemy team is a team that groups up and pushes, you'd be farming right here. You'd be sending an illusion here, and then you'd move your hero to here, and then your next illusion would go to here.
Right.
Right? Like and you'd be cutting. But once again, it's either directly pushing the wave or cutting. So if you're pressuring bottom, one of your illusions needs to go to cut mid. Like it's just that. It's just how it is. It does need to happen. So I don't think you're wrong to prioritize making sure bottom is pushed, but because you're a Terrorblade, you should also cut mid. So, or push mid. If somebody else is pushing it, not your problem, right? Meaning, like, if your team is pushing it, all I said was that lane needs to be attended to. It doesn't always have to be you.
Hey,
But
I got it.
Yeah. So, and I know you're not going to stack this camp here.
What do you mean?
So, the beauty of that camp is, why would you stack it there instead of just kill it?
What?
So, right there, why would you maybe want to stack that camp instead of just kill it?
So you could kill both at the same time. You spend less time killing the camp?
Look at the timer.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, that time on the clock doesn't mean anything to you?
Yeah, it's. But why would I stack it if I killed it before
That timer
anyways?
on the clock, that exact minute mark, doesn't mean anything to you?
Ah, okay. Yeah. New items.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
cool.
You're
Another
way beyond my
another
thinking of
5,000
Dota.
IQ thing to think about in the game of Dota.
No, yeah.
I assure you, once you start thinking about this shit, it
Yeah.
always gets thought about. Like that's the thing about Dota. This is thing. The key of this session is one thing at a fucking time, right? Like
Mm.
people are saying this is way beyond 3K MMR. Honestly, like if you spend 50 games in a row where you are playing your hero, okay? Like imagine you're just playing whatever hero you're playing. You're gonna play your natural game, okay? I don't want you asking yourself any questions. You're just gonna play your game with what feels natural for you, and you just make sure that you stack a camp at 7 minutes, 17 minutes, and 27 minutes. Then once you get that in your head, every single game you're playing, you're just going to naturally stack a camp at like 17, 27. Like when I say that, I mean, I don't want you to go out of your way to stack a camp, but if you're farming a camp at 27 minutes, stack it.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
that's a thing. Like I realized that I started noticing, I'm like, "Oh, like every time I go into a camp, by the way, I check the clock.
Yeah.
People ask,
I
how
tried
often do you
to.
check the
I
mini map
tried
and stuff?
to, but
Yeah, just do your best. Like, just hold yourself accountable. Spend 5 games where you say every time I farm a camp, I check the clock. Every time I farm a creep wave, I check the clock. Every time I, buy an item, I check the clock. Like, just give yourself things you do that you check the clock. The clock is like one of the most important things to look at in the entire game. It tells you so much. It just tells you so much. It tells you what the opponent objectives are, whether it's runes, outposts. It tells you creep camps are respawning. It tells you farming patterns. It tells you where creep waves are. Like, if it's 2705, I know the creep waves are, right next to like the towers right now. If it's 2715, that's when the creep waves in the mid lane meet. Like 2715 is where both creep waves get to here. If it's like they've pushed it in, it's 2725, the lane's gonna be about right here. Like that's the kind of shit that you can start thinking about. But if you honestly, a lot of that knowledge comes with just looking at the clock a lot. Because what happens is you look at the clock, you see 24 seconds, and you'll start training yourself to be like, this is what the map looks like at 24 seconds, on the minute. Like, because the whole game is just a minute-long cycle, right? It's just a repetitive minute-long cycle. Creep wave spawn twice a minute, camp spawn once a minute, rune spawn every 5 minutes, or bounty rune spawn every 5 minutes, regular rune spawn every 2 minutes. The whole game is just a minute timer thing. Like, that's all it is. So it's like you keep checking the timer, you'll be like, oh, it's 23 seconds on the minute. The mid lane's here, or bottom lane's here, or the point is though, I just want you to look at the clock a lot, like a fucking shit ton. It's like anyone should take that knowledge. Like they're like, okay, BSJ told me every time I go into a creep wave, I look at the clock. Every time I farm a creep wave, or a creep camp, excuse me, I look at the clock. It's once again,
no, obviously, yeah.
these are hard things to learn. So please don't do that one while also doing the 95 other things I just talked about in this session. So.
All of them, yeah.
Yeah. You'll be like, I want to check the time, and I want to worry about fighting, and then you just fucking brain fart and do nothing. Okay. But the nice thing is these general rules of Dota are much easier to practice when you're very comfortable on your hero. But if you're gonna spam Terrorblade, you should first work on the things that apply to Terrorblade, like microing illusions. Not forcing fights with meta, thinking about choice between Dragonlance and Manta. Like, those two choices are relevant to Terrorblade, but it'll also help train your thought of when is a carry supposed to show up to fights, right? It will help you with that general concept, but on Terrorblade, if you're going to play a lot of Terrorblade, you should specifically think about his decisions. Because, like, on other heroes, it's like for Void, am I going Midas Maelstrom, or am I going Mask of Madness BKB? One of them's more of a farming build, the other's more of a fighting build. It's like for Terrorblade, it's like Dragonlance or Yasha generally is the choice there. Okay, so we have BKB. We're gonna smoke. Let's fucking go. Nice. Okay, we have BKB. Okay, weird Sunder, but it's life.
Yeah. Probably
Stormbot back.
panic.
Yikes. Stormbot back. You don't have BKB. Oh my god, I'm getting scared. Okay, we killed him. I'm just nervous because Storm bought back and you end up BKB, but it looks like it's fine. I would have probably disengaged when Storm bought back, but honestly, those very specific calls and team fights and stuff, I'm going to let you learn those on your own. I really do think your Enchanted Quiver is your best item here. Oh,
yeah.
you're using the Fairy Fire to heal. That's some shit for sure. Okay. I'm not gonna even talk about that one. You definitely need a health item. Like, damage is nice, but you definitely need the health item here.
Yeah.
You just need to not die instantly. And you need, like, a lot of Dota is a combination of what your hero needs, but what makes it easier for me to play this game. Like, in this game, not dying instantly to their burst is nice. So we kill Storm. That was good, because that was a dieback.
Isn't Scotty like a health item? Like,
it is.
That will
yeah, I just see you
from...
queuing up the data list, and I'm making sure we make the right choice here.
I just feel... I felt like... I guess it's the Undying making me feel... I remember talking to my friend like, fuck, I just feel I need more... I'm not doing enough in this fight. Like, I'm not killing them fast enough, or...
You're not killing them fast enough because you have, like, 4,000 net worth less than you should have. That shouldn't change your items.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
That's
like,
what I told you when we started the... Like, I just feel I never get the right amount of farm.
Well, the reason why
like,
is you showed up to, like, 3 or 4 bad fights. Like, it's just your deaths. It really is just your deaths. So, like, all these general rules of Dota, things you just have to practice. And I know you've asked yourself a lot of questions, and I'm doing my best to not overwhelm you, but I'm also trying to give you as much information as I can, and obviously the time.
Perfect. I can always go back and look at this.
That's the goal. Yeah. Please, like, don't think too hard. Maybe after this session, take a nice little, you know.
Probably not even gonna play.
Yeah, don't even play after this. Honestly, I'd recommend not. So we do give ourselves a Scotty. We took a tier 3. Anti-Mage is pushing top. We're gonna wrap up the session soonish, by the way. We can make sure we ask any final questions, because I know I took longer on this game, because we did talk about things that weren't this game. So, Anti-Mage was pushing top. We're definitely looking for Roche. At this stage in the game, I think to myself, okay, Roche is our next objective. The only thing that's really going to prevent us from doing that is Anti-Mage and Storm split pushing. So what lanes are important to push? That's top and mid. I'm going to push those. That is what you're doing.
Okay.
I'm just telling you my thought process about, you know, what I'm doing on the map right now. So this is fine if mid gets pushed. This move is fine if mid gets pushed. Okay, fine. Mid got pushed. Problem is, this isn't around Roche. I would probably play this farm and look to invade this if I want to farm Ancients, right? If I recall, Roche is not on the bottom half of the map.
Yeah.
At this stage, when you, like, remember what I told you when you take bottom tier 2? What did I tell you?
Next is object is Roche.
Well, more importantly, what about the bottom half of the map when you take bottom tier 2?
Oh, objective.
There's just literally nothing down here, right? So why are you guys here, right? There's just no reason to be here.
Catch Anti-Mage.
It doesn't really matter exactly what specific objective there is in the game, meaning like catching Anti-Mage and stuff. Like, you need to play around your own objectives. Like, you need to play around them, right? Like, if you're going to catch Anti-Mage, like, say your objective is to catch Anti-Mage, right? That's your objective?
Yeah.
Like, so I would look at this differently. My objective is to play Roche, or to play for Roche, and while Roche is respawning, our objective is to kill Anti-Mage. Does that sound like a reasonable way to look at the game?
Sure.
Like, in the meantime, while we're waiting, that's what we could do. So it would be playing top and mid, and then smoking to bottom and trying to find Anti-Mage, rather than playing bottom and trying to smoke to find him elsewhere. Because, like, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense how the other one's more efficient, of like version of the same thing?
Our objective is now Roche, and that should be the
For all you know, Anti-Mage could just be Roshing right now. Like, you know.
Right.
That would suck. But he's obviously not. Okay. But yeah, mid lane not getting pushed really bad. The second the smoke gang doesn't... Wait, why do we meta?
I meta when we...
Oh, you meta when you tried to kill him that one time. Yeah, that's what happened. Okay.
even worse because there isn't a objective, and
Yeah, it's really bad
my
for
meta is
sure.
for objectives. Yeah, yeah. Always feels bad when you meta and
Yeah, so I know there's no like formal playbook that you've had before this session, but Roche is always the objective at this stage in the game. It's always the objective. It's the most important objective in the game past 30 minutes. It just is. Past 25 even.
yeah.
Your entire basis should be if you go bottom, it's because you're trying to force someone to go bottom so you can go top, or you go top. That's the two places. That's the two ways you play the map. That's the only two options. It really is the only two options. You play top to control Roche, or you play bottom to force them away from Roche so that you can control it. You're
Yeah.
basically saying, am I trying to control Roche directly by ramming my head at them, or am I trying to control it indirectly by forcing them away from it? That's the two choices. All that matters is Roche. It's the entire game of Dota. There is no exceptions. There are no the only differences here is how we accomplish it. It's like the only. Are we killing them? Are we pushing lanes? What does our lineup do? Right? Like how are we gaining control of this Roche? The problem I see with your entire team's play right here is not a single effort you guys have made in the last 4 minutes is about Roche. None of it. Not a single thing.
Yeah.
And none of it's correct. That's what I mean. Like I don't even care what the decisions are here. Like. None of it means anything if you're not playing for Roche. So that's a mindset you and your friends can work on together. Maybe they can watch this part with you because it's super important.
You'll probably want.
The thing I look about in these type of games is like I feel like somebody who doesn't watch my videos very often would watch this and say, "Hey, BSJ, but was that decision to smoke anti-mage correct?" And you guys have to understand this is how Dota works, okay? The objectives on the map are there. If you don't play around them, you're just playing wrong. And it doesn't matter. There's no question about that can answer that would be relevant. It just doesn't matter. Play around the objectives or be inefficient. That is your two choices. Like that in high-level play, it's just not going to work that way. And if you're in low-level play and you always play for objectives, I guarantee you there's like random moments in the game that the opponent just forgets, like you guys are here, and you just get a free Roche. Like, you just get handed shit for free because the opponent just doesn't try, right? That's what happens. That's the result that happens positively. So yeah, we're now smoking toward your illusion should be pushing mid. Yeah, I'll tell you past 25 minutes, mid lane gets pushed.
Yeah.
Period. Your Terrorblade, you're in here. Like you need to
I
be a
told you
hero
that's-
that. No, I know, I understand that, but I'm literally saying like. You can put a little sticky note saying like past
I'll
25
remember
minutes.
it for now, for sure. Don't worry.
Yeah, the only thing you ever worry about in games past 25 minutes, you and your friends can actually work on this together. Okay? You need to treat pushing mid lane like an objective. You actually need to treat it like it's an objective that has to be done every 30 seconds. Okay? Like, see that? Like, every decision you guys make on the map, rotations-wise, includes pushing mid. Feel free to watch like 5 professional matches past 20 minutes and see how the mid lane being pushed decides like 90% of their moves. Like, it actually decides so much. Okay? Like, so it's actually crazy to me personally because it's like, once you know, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So-
yeah, exactly.
So it's like,
This is
to know that people watch professional games, like, all the time, and they watch this Dota, and they play Dota, and it just doesn't occur to them that pushing the mid lane is really fucking important. Like, it just doesn't
exactly.
occur to them that that's, like, the most important thing they could be doing past 25 minutes. Like, it matters at all stages, but, like, at this stage in the game, most of the towers are usually dead, so the only objective on the map that's not, like, tier 3s and Roche is the mid lane. Like, that's the only relevant objective on the entire map that's always there. So it's something that always needs to be done.
And sometimes you actually do it also, right? You just do it because it just felt natural, but then I'm not really conscious of why did I do it. Like, oh, I did it because it had to be done or it's really important. No, I just fucking did it, So it's good to have that kind of like the playbook like I was talking about, like, okay, past mid or 20 or whatever, push the
Yeah.
mid lane. Have that as a goal. Simple. Fucking do it.
Yeah, it's very
It's
simple.
okay.
Like don't let
Okay.
like. And the cool
haven't
thing
thought of
is,
that
if
before,
it,
kinda.
yeah, the cool thing is that some games it's easier than others, right? Like on Terrorblade, sometimes you just send an illusion down mid, boom, it's taken care of. Other times you have to do it like very creatively, or like you'll
Well,
smoke
in my
and have to-
bracket, probably not so much. So.
Well, yeah, that's the cool
Please
thing is
start.
the
Yeah.
cool thing about knowing these objectives in your bracket is your understanding of the knowledge to get them done is requirement is lower because the opponent doesn't make it as hard for you to do these things. Okay.
Put this video on YouTube, then, so less people will know.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be amazed, you know, there's plenty of opportunities for people to know this stuff, but I've definitely talked about the mid lane's importance before.
I haven't felt that in this depth. Obviously, I'm, aware that mid lane is important, but I haven't thought of it like this before.
Yeah, that's fine. It wasn't like saying like you don't pay attention or some shit. I was just saying that like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like expressing how important or not important something is can be difficult sometimes. Like for me as a coach, it's like I tell you guys a lot of things, so I will say
a lot of things you're not probably even thinking of
that that are really easy for me. Like they're like not really easy. Like I just know them and I don't realize that people don't know them. Yeah, that happens that way a lot in professional teams when some players are more experienced than the others. I remember playing with players that they would tell me certain things and they'd be like, "Wait, you don't know this shit?" You know, like why do I have to tell you this? And I'm like, "Fuck, man, I don't." You know, settle down, bro. Okay. So why do we lose this game? Do you lose or win this game?
Yeah, we lose. It actually came down to just we got caught out in like late game. We got caught out 1 by 1 a couple of times, and then we just lost.
Okay. I'm gonna end the game. I'm gonna end this coaching session on a thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about the fact that when you have Aegis right here, let's just say you don't pop meta, okay? Let's just say you don't use it. What does the opponent have to do? If you're hitting the tier 3 with Aegis and no meta?
What they have to do?
Yeah, what do they have to do?
Focus someone else?
Like, what if you just walk up the high ground? Do they have to stop you?
No. Yeah.
A Terrorblade without meta doesn't kill this building?
Better sieging. Yeah, of course they have to, but...
So my question is, if you don't hold meta, doesn't it put the ball in the opponent's court to have to do something?
Yeah.
If you pop meta, what does that do to you? Your team has to accomplish a lot in the next 45 seconds.
I'm forcing it.
Do you understand that? Do you understand that by popping meta here, you're actually forcing your team to be on a clock and be, like, panicked a bit?
Yeah.
While if you hold meta, the enemy team's like, shit, there's just a non-meta Terrorblade with meta, like, available, hitting our fucking tier 3. Shit! You know? Yeah, this is something... You have Aegis, right? So if they burst you down full to 0, all it's doing is stopping you from pushing. But if they burst you down full to 0 here, you're going to revive without meta.
And then, if I didn't, I have meta and BKB that I can.
So I like to think about, I like to think about these situations as like, are they forced to go on me if I just hit this building? Like, if I just force this building, like who has to do what to like be happy here? And for you, it's like I'm happy just hitting this fucking building. And if they see you hitting the building, they have to go on you. Okay, if they have to go on me, does that change anything if I'm meted or not? Like, not really. The only difference here is, like, when I say you could just pop meta and kill this building, if you're 100% sure you're going to kill the building in 50 seconds, and you're also, like, 100% sure that they can't kill you full to 0 because you're meta. Like, you know, that's an example where you could meta. But, yeah,
push E too often or too quickly. A
lot
of times
it's just people don't really think about this, I think, where they're, like, it even happens in my bracket, where it's not just meta-related, but it's, like, if I walk up to this building... Is the enemy team forced to do something, or do we have to dive them to take this tower? Like, who's put in a situation where they have to, like, just hitting the building isn't a good situation? Because, like, if you're in a spot where you're hitting the building and you're killable, and your team just sits behind you and you're still killable, that's not, like, a good thing. Like, that's not a situation you want to put yourself into, right? So your team either needs to smoke and dive them or not push. But if you're a situation where you walk up the high ground and if the opponent does nothing, they just lose their base, or if they try to go on you, you're just like, it doesn't matter all that much to you, then that's when you're great to just, like, that's a great feeling to go high ground in. It actually feels great to do that. So, like, an example of this was recently I lost a game on carry where I was troll and they had really good counter initiation, and I was like, let them go on me. Like, I'm a troll. They don't do all that much damage to me. But I don't do all that much damage to them. I had a very defensive build, I was like, guys, yeah, just sit behind me. I have Aegis. Let me hit tier 3, all this kind of shit. Then my team dove and we all died. And I'm like, well, fuck. Like, why did we die? They had to go on me. Like, I'm hitting their buildings. But, you know, that's life. So that's just the last thought I wanted to wrap this up on. Do you have any final questions of things I didn't go over? Because I know I said a lot.
I hope I don't, because there's enough to.
Last a year,
Yeah.
hopefully. At least that's the goal.
Yeah. The thing is, I play like 6 months a year, or I work on offshore, so I'm only
Oh,
home
I see.
half the time of it. So I probably play like 10 games of, or 10, 15 games of Terrorblade after I came back home from sea, and so now like yeah. Uh,
Okay.
but I get to watch your videos once I'm out at sea, and then I'll come back and try. And
Oh, yeah, there you go.
so yeah, the mechanical skills will always just be, there's two
A
months
bit
with
lag in there. Yeah.
zero touching Dota, and then I come back, and then but yeah, it's been great. I mean, fuck, you made me look even worse than I thought, but that's kind of good also. So
Yeah, it's easy to be nitpicky in Dota.
there's a lot to process, obviously.
I can even dissect my games pretty brutally if I try hard enough. So
Of course. I mean, nobody plays perfect Dota, but yeah, it's when you look at, I don't know, like going forward, should I look more on my own damn videos, like replays, and go through these kind of questions and ask
you should
myself
go through
while
one
I'm,
question at a time while you're playing Dota. You should be like we talked about the mental aspect, right? Be confident in what you know going into a game, and then have all of your focus on improving be that one thing, right? Like
yeah.
whether or not that's
So you
items.
go into a game and just, okay, this game I'm gonna fucking look at the clock. That's my whole
Yeah, and
fucking
then after, like,
objective
for
for the
instance,
game.
I did that a while back, right?
Yeah.
I did it with tread switching, I did it with the clock, I did it with the mini map. You know, some of it I
Yeah.
still need to do, like I'm still working on, but I did
Yeah.
it, and then eventually that just becomes natural. I don't even, I don't have to invest thought into looking at the clock. Like I just
Right.
always look at the clock when I'm supposed to. Like that's just, and there's days where I'm a bit off or whatever, and those are the days where I'm like, shit, man, why didn't I check the clock right there? Like, what the fuck's wrong with me? And I'm upset with myself if I don't check it properly, like twice a game, you know? Like,
Mhm.
that's when I get upset with myself. But the point is, if you work on it for like 40, 50 games or whatever, then
Mhm.
the hope
Yeah.
would be after that, you're kind of just naturally doing it, and then you can move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So as
Right.
long you're gonna have your natural skills and lessons you've already learned, your like mechanics and all that shit, they're going to carry you
Yeah.
through a game, and then your goal is to expand one thing at a time, and then eventually your natural mechanics and understanding of the game is just going to be high enough to like carry you, right? Like it's going to carry you through the game. So
Yeah. Well, I gotta work on the mental and the, like, the, yeah, thought process, and the all the different types of Dota that you have to play more than the mechanical, because I'm just obviously always gonna be, obviously I do try and play this fucking creep killing stuff, CSing under tower, all these things. Um, but yeah, that's why I wanted coaching, because I wanted to work on the mental aspect, and the understanding of Dota,
your
playing
mechanics in
Dota
lane were pretty
correctly.
decent, I'd say. Like I saw you get the kill, you like you corrected the lane equilibrium. A lot of that stuff was actually pretty good. I'm just telling you, like it was really the starting items which had a big play, and then staying in the lane too long.
Yeah,
So, like for instance, one day, like period of 50 games in a row, ask yourself at the very start of the game, based on their heroes and yours, when you think you're going to leave your lane.
yeah,
It's actually
yeah.
a really important question to ask yourself. In every game, you should ask yourself, and it's a question that naturally occurs to me in the game. Like that's what ends up happening is it'll naturally occur to you. You'll like briefly think about it for like 3 seconds at the start of the game, and then
Yeah,
like when that situation happens, you just leave. Like that's what ends
yeah,
up happening. You're like, I'll leave when the opponent gets level 6. I'll leave when the mid laner is level 6. I'll leave when whatever. Like you just
when do I leave the lane?
yep.
If I could just write down, sorry for pulling this out, or stretching this session, but
No, you're fine.
when do I have to leave the lane? And then you were saying the three questions that you ask yourself: do I want to fight? Uh, what are my next objectives? I don't remember these three. There's so much in
Am
my
I
head right
ahead or
now.
behind?
Yeah, in my head, am I? Yeah,
And do I want to fight? Or where would it be if it's going to be a fight? And do I want to
Where?
fight there? Like, those are pretty much
So
three
yeah,
questions
do
you
I
can
want to
always ask
fight?
at like 12 minutes plus, pretty much. Like, you can always ask yourself that. Am I ahead or
So
behind? Where's
am
the
I
fight
going to
going to happen?
participate? Am I
Am I going to be
participating?
there? Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Like just constantly ask myself, okay, I don't have meta. I need this BKB. Okay, I'm not fighting. Fuck it. I'm not just fighting. All right. I'm gonna let you go and
Yeah,
I'm
right
gonna
on,
have a
man.
shower. I'm gonna have
Yeah,
a shower, I think. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Wash yourself of all the gunk you've filled your mind with. Okay, see you later, man.
All right. Thanks. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.